Hello students, welcome back to new video lecture on tribology. This is Amar Hatti, your tribology teacher. Well, in the last video lecture, we came to know and we studied what are the desirable properties of a lubricant. Then we classified the lubricants in lubricating oils, greases, solid type lubricants, and also we came to know what are natural oils, mineral oils with additives, what are the synthetic oils, and also their properties, right? And also we discussed a topic like what are the major influencing factors which are influencing for selection of lubricants, like speed, load, temperature, and geometry is going to influence the selection of lubricants. Okay, so today in this video lecture we are going to study, or we are going to discuss about bearing material. Okay, so before going to what are the different bearing materials, we'll discuss what are the properties of the bearing material. Okay, so initially it comes because we are studying, because the desirable properties of the bearing material we have to know before selection of the bearing material. So initially, or the first one which comes is, the bearing material should have low coefficient of friction. The bearing material combination of sliding surfaces, because along with any lubricant should provide a low friction coefficient for reducing any damage or any running cost. Okay, it should have low coefficient of friction. Then a proper right bearing material should have high compressive strength. Okay, it should have high compressive strength, because to withstand maximum pressure, so it is going to prevent the extrusion or any other permanent deformations for of the bearing. Okay, then bearing material should have high fatigue strength. It should have sufficient fatigue strength, so it can withstand any repeated loads without developing any surface cracks or fatigue cracks. Okay, so this is the major importance in aircraft and automotive engines. Okay, then the bearing material should have low thermal expansion. Thermal expansion in the sense, it should not change its size with any temperature changes. Okay, so the bearing material have the high thermal conductivity also. Thermal conductivity in the sense, the ability to bear material to dissipate heat quickly due to friction. Okay, then elasticity, will come to know what about elasticity. Bearing material should be elastic enough to allow the bearing to return to its original shape and size even after releasing or relieving the stresses that may cause temporary distortion. Okay, then embeddability. What is embeddability? It is the ability of a bearing material to accommodate a small particle of dust. Okay, without the scoring or without having any damages to the material of the journal. Then corrosion resistance. It should be resistant to corrosion. Then conformability. What is conformability? It is the ability of the bearing material to accommodate shaft deflections and bearing inaccuracies by plastic deformation, and it should not go beyond or without excessive wear and heating out of the shaft. Okay, so that is conformability. Then definitely we have to take care of the cost and availability. Okay, so bearing material should have reasonable cost and should be easily available in the market. Okay, so by considering all these properties, we are going to select the bearing material. Okay, so let's go for bearing materials. Well, if you are a manufacturer of the bearing, you have to take care of the bearing materials. Okay, so there are 6 different types of bearing materials. Well, initially the first one is lead or tin based alloys. We call it as a Babbitt metals also. Second one is cadmium based alloys, aluminum based alloys, copper based alloys, silver based alloys. All these are metals actually. Okay, so finally the 6th one is non metallic bearing materials. Okay, so we will see one by one. Well, the initial one is lead or tin based alloy, Babbitt. Okay, so if we have two materials, and lead and tin, and the alloy is based on this one, alloy in the sense the mixture of two materials. Okay, so if we have two materials, we have three combinations. Okay, so there are three different types of Babbitt metals. If we are just considering tin, we are going to have tin based alloy, one is lead based alloys, and a mixture of both. Well, the first one is, what we do, we'll just add higher amount of tin and very lesser amount of lead. Second one is, we will take higher amount of lead and very lesser amount of tin. Second one, we will keep a proportion of tin and also a same quantity of lead. Okay, first the high tin alloys with more than 80% of tin and very less amount of lead. Then the high lead alloys with 80% lead and 1 to 12% of tin. Then the alloys with intermediate percentage of tin and lead. So let's see what are the typical composition of the first one, the lead based alloy. Well, in that one we are going to have 75% of lead, 15% of antimony, and 10% of tin. Okay, so these are the combination of lead based alloy. In tin based alloy, we will have 88% of tin, 8% of antimony, and we used 4% of copper. Okay, left is lead. Then we'll see what are the properties of lead or tin based alloy. Lead based alloys are quite softer and brittle. Okay, if you compare it with the tin based alloys, lead based alloys are quite brittle and also they are softer. And these lead based alloys are cheaper actually compared to tin based alloys, because lead is cheap than tin. Tin based alloys have a low coefficient of friction if you compare it with the lead based alloys. Okay, talking about lead based alloys, they are suitable for light and medium loads, because lead is a soft material, wherein tin based alloys are preferred for high loads and speeds, because the strength of tin is better than lead. Tin based alloys find their applications in, as I said, high speed engines, steam turbines, and lead based alloys are used in simple railroad cars. We use lead based alloys. And also these, besides of all these things, both these alloys possess good ability to embed dirt, embeddability, good conformability, good corrosion resistance, and they have very good shear resistance. Okay, so this is about lead and tin based alloys. Well, the second one is cadmium based alloys. Well, the name itself indicates the chemical composition is higher with cadmium, 97%, 2% nickel. It also contains silver, copper, zinc. Okay, but they are in very small percentage. So these bearing alloys have a structure which is consisting of a soft matrix containing harder crystals of intermetallic compounds. Okay, and these are not so popular because cadmium, the rate of the cadmium or the price of cadmium is quite high, so they are not so popular. And they also possess great compressive strength than tin or tin bearing alloys. Okay, if you compare it with the tin alloys, the compressive strength of cadmium is higher, and they also possess low coefficient of friction, high fatigue strength, high load carrying capacity, low wear, good shear resistance, fair ability to embed dirt, and they are poor corrosion resistance. Okay, cadmium based alloys were tried in, yes, automobiles and aircraft industries, and they are good result, and they have good results were obtained. And as I said, they aren't very popular because of high price of cadmium. Next is aluminum based alloys. So aluminum is the higher composition here, having 91.5%, tin 6%, copper 1%, and nickel 1%. They have good seizure resistance, excellent corrosion resistance, and they have good conformability also, and they have a embeddability properties also they possess. And finally, they have good thermal conductivity. And talking about applications, these bearings are used in diesel engines and tractors, because you may have seen the aluminum based alloys are widely used in automobile industries or tractors. Okay. Next comes copper based alloys. Well, the copper is the higher composition here, 80 to 85%, tin 10 to 15%, lead 10%. Okay. So the term bronze covers a large number of copper alloys with varying percentage of tin, zinc and lead, because bronze is one of the oldest known bearing material. Okay, once the bearing has invented, initially they were used bronze as a bearing material, because the main reason for using bronze as a bearing material is it can be easily worked, and it has a good corrosion resistance, and it is quite hard. Okay, reasonably it has higher hardness. Then talking about tin bronze, it has 10 to 14 percentage of tin. All the things, and other is copper, and it is used in machine and engine industry for bearing bushes. Okay, you may have seen the bushes. Well, here we have bushes. Well, the right side we have a picture, right? Those are the bushes. Why copper based alloys are used? Because to resist heavier pressures. Okay, to resist heavier pressures we use copper based alloys. Like railways, you may have seen the rails, there we used copper based bearings. Next comes silver based alloys. Well, silver based alloys are produced with a process actually. Okay, we directly don't use silver as a whole material here. Here the silver based bearings or alloys are produced by electro deposition of 0.3 to 0.5 mm layer of silver on a steel support shell. So actually we have a steel support shell. Onto it we are going to electro deposit 0.3 to 0.5 mm layer of silver. Then after we are going to have layer or intermediate layer of copper and nickel we are going to put on it. Then a 0.02 to 0.03 mm of lead is deposited on top of the silver. Okay, on top of the silver, and indium is going to diffuse into the lead by heat treatment. At what temperature? 180 degree Celsius. Okay, so this covering layer is helps to improve the properties and corrosion resistance of the silver layer. Well, silver based alloys possess high corrosion resistance, and they are yes, they are, because we are going to use silver here, so they are highest priced alloys. They are employed where other materials don't produce satisfactory results. If I am using cadmium, lead or aluminum based alloys and they are not producing satisfactory results, I am going to use silver based alloys. Okay, and the application of this one is the connecting rod of bearings of aircraft engines. Okay, so this is about silver based alloys. Yes, these are all the metallic bearing materials. Okay, next comes the final one is the non-metallic bearing. Well, the first one or the mostly used non-metallic bearing material is Teflon. We call it as a polytetrafluoroethylene also, because it has a coefficient of friction which is lesser than 0.04 without lubrication. Okay, it has good stability at high temperatures and chemically inert to water and many chemicals and solvents. In between, fillers like glass, graphite will be used to increase the resistance to deformation. Well, I am talking about Teflon. Well, many other non-metallic bearing materials like nylon, rubber, plastic, ceramics, or carbon graphites are also used as a non-metallic bearings. Okay. So this is about properties of the bearing and bearing materials. Okay. So next we'll talk about bearing construction. Well, there are two ways of constructing a bearing. One is solid bushing. Well, you can see the pictures, and the second one is lined bushings. Well, you can see the pictures here. They are the bearings. Okay, and they are solid bearings. In the first picture, they are solid bearings and or solid bushings. The solid bushings is made by casting. By using casting process, we make or we produce solid bushings. By machining or by using powder metallurgy process also, we produce solid bushings. Okay. Well, next comes your lined bushings. Well, the pictures shows here, you can see the line bushings are made of bearing material like babbitt and are backed up by a steel bush. Okay, backed up by a steel bush. These lined bushings can be made either all round or split type. Okay, we can make it as a all round also, and we can make it as a split type also. The split type lined bushings is made of two halves actually, and is provided with a locking to prevent the axial and rotation movement of the bearing with respect to its housing, because we may have a axial and rotational movement of this bearing with respect to housing. So to prevent that one, what we do, we are going to provide a locking. Okay, we are going to provide a locking, so it will not have the axial and rotational movement. So these are the solid bushings and lined bushings. Well, the next topic is your gaskets. So what are gaskets? Well, you may see if we have two joints and they are in their compression. Okay, so if we are having two joints and in between if we may have a lubricants, in between we may have any type of fluid movement. Okay, so at that cases we may have a leakage. Okay, leakage. So prevent that one, we will use gaskets. So what are gaskets? What is a gasket? A gasket is a mechanical seal actually, which fills the space between two or more mating surfaces, generally to prevent what I said, the leakage from or into the joints objects while under the compression. Okay, and gaskets are not perfect mating surfaces. Okay, they are less than perfect mating. That's why we can prevent the leakage, but we cannot completely eliminate the leakage. Okay, because they are less than perfect mating surfaces on machine parts. Okay, they can fill the irregularities. Okay, well, talking about the applications of the gaskets, they can be used at high pressure steam systems, and they may contain asbestos also. Okay, and however, due to health hazards associated with asbestos exposure, non-asbestos gasket material are used in practical applications. Okay, and it is usually desirable that gasket can be made from a material that is to some degrees of yielding, such that it is able to deform and tightly fill the space it is designed for, including any slight irregularities, right? A few gaskets require an application of sealant directly to the gasket surfaces to function properly. Well, you can see these are the gaskets used. Like we use gaskets in pipings. Okay, and they are called as flange gaskets. Gaskets are used in vehicles. Gaskets with certain material properties like cork, rubber, papers are also used. Gaskets used for a particular function, for high pressure, temperature or chemical resistance also. Well, we know about gaskets. Then we will know there are actually two types of gaskets. One is metallic gaskets and the second one is non-metallic gasket. Well, if we are talking about the properties of the metallic gaskets, metal gaskets are designed to withstand extreme temperatures, pressures, and chemical exposure, and are made of materials like lead, copper, brass, or aluminum. The lead gaskets can withstand temperature up to 70 degrees. If we are using copper or brass as a gasket, that can withstand 250 degrees. And if we are using aluminum gaskets, that can withstand up to 400 degrees of temperature. Okay, so the metallic gaskets can have either corrugated construction or plain construction. That doesn't have much impact. So the metallic gaskets are permanently set when compressed during the assembly and will not recover to original shape even after separation of the contacting surfaces. Okay, because it is going to permanently set in between the surfaces, and they are susceptible to corrosion, especially in chemical atmosphere. Well, this is about metallic gasket. Well, next comes is your non-metallic gaskets. Well, what are the non-metallic gaskets? Glass, fiber, asbestos, cork, rubber, plastic, or graphites are used as non-metallic gaskets. Okay, and asbestos gaskets can withstand temperature up to 250 degrees Celsius, and they are not affected by any chemical atmosphere. That is why we use asbestos as a non-metallic gasket and non-metallic bearing material also. They are used in IC engine cylinder, block cylinder, cylinder heads, manifold connections, any type of steam pipes. We use asbestos gasket. Okay, so rubber gaskets have an ability to flow into joints imperfections when compressed. Okay, they are used for applications involving irregular surfaces and complicated mating surfaces, and however they cannot withstand high temperature. Normally they are not preferred above 70 degree temperature. Okay, so this is about your first unit. Well, till now whatever the stuff we studied, it completes your first unit. Well, in the first unit we came to know the importance of tribology in design, tribology in industry, economical consideration. We came to know lubrication definition, lubricant properties, viscosity, its measurements, basic modes of lubrication, different types of lubricants. What are the selection grades of lubricants, commonly used lubricants, recycling of the used oil. Then we came to the bearing, as today's lecture, bearing construction, oil seals, oil gaskets. Okay, so in next video lecture I'm going to start your second unit, that is friction and wear. Okay, so in introduction part we are going for the laws of friction, what are the kinds of friction, what are the causes of friction, we are going to study. Okay, till that, thank you very much.